Certain now that Devendra Fadnavis will become the next Chief Minister of Maharashtra. This evening, all three leaders of the Maha Yuti, Fadnavis, Eknath Shinde and Ajit Pawar, are all in Delhi. They will be meeting with Home Minister Amit Shah. After this, the decks will be cleared for Devendra Fadnavis to take over the reins of the top job in Mantralaya. With Mr. Eknath Shinde in his press conference yesterday saying that he intends to step away from the race for the top job and that he's made that very clear to no less than Prime Minister Modi, that whatever decision Prime Minister Modi takes, he will stand by that. Now, the opposition is raising a familiar old tune, that the BJP never respects its allies. They're saying that the BJP went into this election in Maharashtra with Mr. Shinde as the face. Mr. Shinde was the leader of this coalition and they went into this election, fought this election as the Maha Yuti with Mr. Shinde's leadership. And once his use has been exhausted, then they have dumped him. Now, they are citing examples of what the BJP did in Bihar and what the BJP did in Punjab with the JDU and the Akali Dal respectively. That's also being cited by the opposition. The question is, how valid is this charge? After all, the numbers have a certain definitive logic. The BJP has 132 on its own. The Shinde Sena has merely 57. So, the BJP on its own, along with some independents, people who it backed, can actually go on to form this government without the help of the Shinde Sena. So then, why should the Bihar model or the Haryana model, as the Shinde Sena wants it, why should that be sort of implemented in Maharashtra? So we'll explore all of this, all of these angles, and hopefully we'll get some pictures as well of that meeting of the three leaders of the Yuti with Amit Shah, where I believe the final I's and T's will be dotted and crossed. But first, the story so far.
मैंने अमित भाई जी को भी फोन किया, मोदी जी को भी फोन किया। सरकार बनाने में हमारी तरफ से कोई भी रुकावट, कोई भी अड़चन, कोई भी कुछ भी किसी भी तरह का अड़ंगा नहीं है।
हमारी महायुति में कभी भी कोई एक दूसरे के प्रति अलग मत ये रहा नहीं है।
Everyone is in agreement that everything is happening in unison. Why is it that they have to come to Delhi to get their final orders issued?
All right, let's open this up to our guest. Shazia Ilmi, national spokesperson of the BJP, is joining us. Raju Wagmare is spokesperson of the Shiv Sena. Anish Gawande, spokesperson of the NCP. Sharad Pawar will be joining us. Matthew Antony, spokesperson of the Congress. And Rohit Chandavarkar, senior journalist, will also be joining us. Let me start with you, Shazia Ilmi. This is what the Congress, the Sena UBT, the alliance partners of the MVA are claiming, that despite the loss, the BJP has taken Shinde Sena for a ride. You went into the election on Mr. Eknath Shinde's face in his leadership. He was the leader of the Mahayuti. And right after the elections, once his use is exhausted, you have dumped him. Now the BJP is claiming the chief minister's post and you have forced Mr. Shinde to get out of the race for the top job. That's what the opposition is saying.
Well, it doesn't really matter what they say. I mean, obviously they're frustrated, exasperated. They don't know how to digest their own shortcomings and their massive failure, how they've been completely routed, and how people actually believe that the real Uttaradhikari, the successor of Shiv Sena, is indeed Eknath Shinde ji, and of course also of NCP. So that the party belongs to the Karyakartas, party belongs to the cadres. And Janadesh or public's verdict has ensured that. Now they can keep on saying, they can blame the EVM, they can keep saying this is being done, that is being done, they're being shot, that somehow there is some way that they are not being given the right deal, but that's up to them. Shinde ji has categorically said that whoever Prime Minister chooses, they go with that. Ajit Pawar ji has made it amply clear. Devendra Fadnavis is one of those leaders who actually accepted to be, in fact didn't want to be the deputy CM after having been the chief minister. So this is the track record and history of BJP in terms of choosing of the CMs. Now let's look at how it's done. You will know this, that whether it's Bhajanlal Sharma or Mohan Yadav ji, or first time around even it was Fadnavis ji, people did not even know as to who it is going to be and how is it going to be. Similarly, if you look at Uttarakhand, how CMs were changed for different reasons, everybody accepts it, and there is no rancor, and there is no petty mudslinging that we are seeing now in Aghadi, where Shiv Sena itself, I mean the Uddhav Thackeray's Shiv Sena feels Uddhav Thackeray should leave.
Okay.
That he has betrayed his legacy of his father, party, ideology and what have you. So I think we are very humbled by this huge victory, and we will not cast aspersions.
So,
and the fact of the matter is that
let me ask
we will go along.
Mr.
And I think
Raju
everybody is on board with
Wagmare
this.
of the Shinde Sena that this is the BJP's argument for why Fadnavis should be the chief minister. Of course, there is the hard logic of numbers. BJP has 132, you have 57. They have almost 3 times of what you do. So there is the cold logic of numbers. BJP has 3 times your numbers, or almost 3 times your numbers. It's a hat-trick for Fadnavis, 3 straight wins, 2014, 2019, excuse me, and now 2024. He is the rightful claimant for the chief minister's post after this landslide because of the numbers that the BJP has compared to the other 2 alliance partners. He also crucially has the backing of Prime Minister Modi, Home Minister Amit Shah and RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat. No major corruption taint against him when he was at the forefront of the government. He is also credited with taking a backseat in 2022, despite still being the leader of the largest party. At that time, BJP had 105, you had 40, and yet Devendra Fadnavis, after having been a chief minister, served a full 5-year term. Then, despite that, decided to become deputy chief minister because the leadership asked him to. Now it's his time to reclaim the leadership.
See, if you look into that, we don't have a problem that if the BJP is claiming for Devendra Fadnavis, but at the same time, what we can claim for our leaders to ask for leaders, the top post in Maharashtra in a political field as a CM, we can definitely ask for our leader because our leader also fought for this post. He worked very hard. He never used to sleep. The whole Maharashtra has this question that when our CM sleeps. So he took good decisions. He traveled complete Maharashtra like day and night. And he's the most popular leader at present in Maharashtra in any political party.
But Mr. Wagmare, yesterday Mr. Shinde himself came out and said that he has told Prime Minister and that he's told Amit Shah that he is not going to be a roadblock. He's not going to be a speed breaker. He does not want the top job. Why did he do that if he's the most popular leader?
No, he's the most popular leader. But at the same time, we asked that our leader, the Mahayuti can make them a CM. We can ask. But if you look into our situation, before election only, we decided all 3 parties that Mahayuti government must come into the power. The decision of the who's going to be CM will be decided by the topmost authority of Mahayuti. That has been decided from day 1.
Okay.
So there was nothing like this that some channel shows that Mr. Shinde has claimed and then he back out. It's never happened. We never claimed. He never said that I want to become CM.
Sir,
like
he may not have said, but your party leaders, your party MPs, Mr.
Yeah,
Muske, for
see,
example, has said
see.
this. 2 days back he said this, and then yesterday he changed tune because clearly the message had gone through either from Mr. Shinde's office or from Delhi. But anyway, let me now go to the opposition. Let me, with your permission, go to the opposition. Anish Gawande and Matthew Anthony. Anish Gawande, whatever it is, fact of the matter is whether Mr. Shinde becomes or Mr. Fadnavis becomes, now likelier that Mr. Fadnavis becomes Anish Gawande. This is their internal matter. They are well within their right to choose who they want to project as the next chief minister. Ultimately, they went in as a coalition, just like you went in as a coalition. Neither did you declare anyone as a chief ministerial face, despite the fact that Uddhav Thackeray asked for it, pleaded for it, made a public announcement about it in a public rally, and yet you did not declare a chief ministerial phase. So what's the big deal if they take 4 or 5 days to decide who is going to be the next chief minister? Ultimately, like I said, there is the cold logic of numbers. If you go by numbers purely, the BJP should have the next chief minister. Anish Gawande.
Saka, let bygones be bygones. I don't think anyone's asking us about who our chief ministerial face is anymore after these results. But as a responsible opposition, we're just raising a very simple demand upon the newly elected MLAs in the Maharashtra Vidhan Sabha to elect their leader. You know, it's been almost a week now since the election results came out. We were told that we would be the alliance that, should we get the numbers, would face difficulty in choosing a chief minister. But here we are without a government in place in Maharashtra. There's a meeting underway right now at Mr. Pawar's residence where all MPs are ready to raise issues of farm prices, of soya prices, of cotton prices, and we're waiting for a chief minister to raise these demands too. It's time for Badbad Band and Kaam Shuru. Maharashtra needs to have a chief minister. Whether it's Devendra Fadnavis ji or it's Eknath Shinde ji, as you're rightly saying, is entirely up to them. But what is seeming suspicious here is the delay in selecting a chief minister.
Please stop crying.
No, I wonder if a promise was made in 2024, like a promise in 2019, that isn't being kept, going by what we're seeing on television today.
No, but Mr. Shinde never spoke about any kind of promise, by the way. To be fair to him, in yesterday's press conference, he didn't refer to any promise. In fact, his leaders, I think one of his MPs yesterday said, we are not like Uddhav Thackeray, we don't cry, we fight. Those are his words.
Promises, Zaka, only revealed once they're broken.
No. Please don't create any stories. Please
But-
be truthful. Be truthful. Don't create any stories. Please, doesn't look good. Doesn't look good on you. You can talk this kind of stories.
You see, if promises were made and promises are broken, then the only person who knows that is Mr. Shinde. And from whatever we saw in his press conference yesterday, he made no mention of any kind of promise being kept or broken. He simply said that I'm not going to be a roadblock to forming a Maha Yuti government in Maharashtra, and he's left the decision to Prime
Correct.
Minister Modi. Now, let me ask Matthew Anthony. Now, let's leave aside all of this. The point is, what is the MVA, what is the India Alliance, the Congress Party doing to capture the imagination of voters? Yes, you've lost an election, you've raised some issues, it clearly did not have any resonance with the voters, first in Haryana and then in Maharashtra. Just like the BJP went back to the drawing board after the 2024 Lok Sabha reversal, where of course they came back to power, but albeit with a diminished majority, and they figured out that there were a section of Dalits who went away, they worked on those communities, and they have made amends, and they have now come back stronger both in Haryana and in Maharashtra. The question to you, Matthew Anthony, is, will you go back to the drawing board and ask yourself this question, this whole thing that Rahul Gandhi keeps talking about day in and day out, scrapping 50% reservation, caste census, is it having resonance on the ground? Multiple elections, you've used the same theme, and it's not given you the results. Is it time to find new issues?
Saka, I'll come and answer your questions, but before that, the people are, who is the chief minister? It's not Maha Vikas Aghadi's question, as you rightly said. However, it is 168 hours with an 81.6% presence in the assembly. They are still not able to make the chief minister. Second is, the people of Maharashtra wants to know, because they fought it with Eknath Shinde as the chief minister. There was more or less a continuity kind of, assured by them if they come into power. And now the BJP is doing what they are best at, backstabbing. They backstabbed Balasaheb Thackeray's NCP, Shiv Sena, and Sharad Pawar's NCP. Now they are continuing to backstab Eknath Shinde also, saying that, no, look, we have the numbers. Now coming back to MVA side of it and the Congress side of it, we are definitely reflecting back on, what has gone wrong and what is not done well for us. Seat by seat, booth by booth, we are looking into the details. However, we have raised our concerns on this unexpected pattern of results which has originated. We are getting on for a legal fight also. But we are equally responsible and equally serious in terms of finding the fact that how we can win the perception battle in the state of Maharashtra. Coming in, the 15 municipal elections are going to be there. If at all this government conducts it, then it's going to be there in the next 6 months' time. And we are very focused on that one. And we definitely stand by the caste census, because that is a rights under which we are fighting that battle. It might take time.
It had
may
no
not
resonance,
give an
Matthew
electoral
Anthony.
victory.
You tried to ride on the Maratha agitation of Jarange Patil. In 46 seats in Marathwada, NDA won 40. India Alliance won 6. I mean, should that not give you the sense of the mood of the people there? That this is not an issue that they feel is top of mind for them. This is not an election determining issue. And ultimately, whether you like it or not, political parties exist to fight elections and to win elections.
Zaka, I agree that we need to win elections, but I also try to recall the 2 MP days of BJP also. They had a long way there, but did they move from their ideology? They didn't. They fought for it election after election.
Are you going to wait 40 years to come back to power?
No, it's not about 40 years. It is about whether we take the right political ideology or
Rohit Chandarkar,
we cannot do that.
one of the arguments put forth by the opposition, and as the days go by, as it becomes clearer that Fadnavis is going to be Chief Minister and Mr. Shinde may be Deputy CM, we don't know, but likely Deputy CM. One of the arguments, particularly the Uddhav Sena has been latching on to, is that this is what they did to us. They rode on our coattails, they as in the BJP rode on the Shiv Sena, the United Shiv Sena's coattails, and eventually the BJP became so big that it devoured the Shiv Sena. It ate up Uddhav Thackeray. The same thing they are now doing with Mr. Shinde. Is there any merit in the argument? Now, I'll just go through the seat share and vote share for the last 30-40 years. The first time Shiv Sena and BJP came to power in 1995, BJP won 65 seats, Shiv Sena had 73 seats. BJP's vote share was 22.5, Shiv Sena's vote share was 25.5. 30 or 40 years later, in 2024, the BJP's won 132 seats with a vote share of 26.77%, and the Shinde Sena had 57 seats with a vote share of 12.3%. So basically, both in vote share and seat share, the BJP is now the big party, the big brother.
Zaka, if there is something peculiar about Maharashtra politics or something special about Maharashtra politics, you can say, which gets reflected in national media all the time, it is the fact that every party accuses the other party of backstabbing. And I don't know how much backstabbing is going on in Maharashtra. On a lighter note, sometimes all of us journalists, we say whether all these parties are standing in a circle, everybody is backstabbing everybody else. But jokes apart, the point is, Eknath Shinde is being told by the BJP, and the BJP told him even before the seat sharing talks started, was that, they reminded him that he had only 40 seats in the assembly and he was given chief minister's position and he was in that position for 2.5 years. So he should climb down a bit when he is asking for more and more seats in the seat sharing talks. I remember this happening about 1.5 months ago or so, when the seat sharing was at a final stage. So that is the background. I'm giving that background so everybody here and your viewers get this picture that Eknath Shinde was made the chief minister despite him not having the clear majority or large number of seats, and BJP took the backseat at that time in June of 2022. Now, I'll give you some information. In the last few days, why there has been so much delay, and I don't think that is being talked about too much in any media, national media or regional media. My information is that Eknath Shinde gave a proposal to the BJP 3 days ago on Sunday. Remember, on Saturday, I was in your studio in Delhi and I said that BJP will not let go of the chief minister's position. And next day, it was almost certain that BJP will announce the name and all of that. But Eknath Shinde gave a proposal saying that since Mahayuti has got such a momentum in Maharashtra, in the upcoming Mumbai Municipal, Pune Municipal Corporation elections and the Jilla Parishad elections, he'd like to continue as CM till those elections are over so that the momentum can be maintained. Now, the BJP leadership took a couple of days. They found this proposal interesting and they took a couple of days to think about this. They discussed it with various leaders, with Ajit Pawar also and others. And finally, it was decided that no, it's not right now worth it. We will take the CM position, which was the original plan. So that's why this delay has happened. Nobody in media maybe knows about all these details. There was one other proposal also that Eknath Shinde gave, but I don't want to talk about it on national TV.
So Rohit, after yesterday's press conference by Mr. Shinde, now it's clear that he is no longer the contender for the top job and that it's going to be Fadnavis who is the chief minister?
Yeah. So Zaka, now, we are almost certain that Devendra Fadnavis will be chief minister. We are 100% certain that BJP will hold the chief minister's position. Since Saturday only we are certain about that, last Saturday. Now we are almost certain, let's say 85-90% certain, that Devendra Fadnavis will be the CM. Now the big question, Zaka, in everybody's mind is whether Eknath Shinde will accept Deputy Chief Minister's position, because some of his deputies have said in media today and yesterday that after being CM for 2.5 years, Eknath Shinde is the type of person who never climbs down, and once he's been in the CM seat, he may not accept deputy CM seat. He may nominate one of his leaders to take that seat. So maybe it is, Deepak Kesarkar, whoever, 3-4 names are coming up. Whether that happens or not is the big question in Maharashtra. And the next big question that everybody is discussing in Mumbai and other parts of Maharashtra is whether Shinde gets all the portfolios that he has asked for. There is third factor, which is Ajit Pawar has done very well compared to what was expected. And he will also demand his pound of flesh.
No.
So there's going to be some competition among these three to hold the best portfolios and all of that. That talk is happening in Amit Shah's presence because there is so much competition that these three have gotten into. Zaka.
The problem with Mr. Shinde not accepting the DCM's post is, and instead nominates anybody else, one of his 57 MLAs, whoever is the senior most or whoever he wants to nominate as the Deputy Chief Minister, then Ajit Pawar can turn around and say that, that's a demotion for him. Because technically he is the senior most among all three. And if he is also DCM and a more junior person than Mr. Shinde becomes the DCM from the Sena side, then Mr. Pawar can look at that as an affront. But anyway,
the ironical thing about Ajit Pawar, and it's almost become like a light thing in Maharashtra, everybody jokes about it, is that no matter which government comes to power, Ajit Pawar is always the deputy CM. And he's always been the deputy CM. The running joke among Mantralaya reporters and media, Zaka, a very funny, interesting thing, is that last 3 days when there was so much delay happening, many reporters started saying, CM position to baad mein dekha jayega, Ajit Dada ka shapat kar lo, deputy CM ban ke. That kind of a thing. So fun apart, but the thing is, it's certain that Devendra Fadnavis will be in the saddle now. It's almost certain. 10% chance maybe of that changing.
No, so let me go back to our political spokespersons, and I want to come back to that point. Shazia Ilmi, the opposition is saying that BJP does not follow coalition dharma. Look at what they've done to Shinde Sena, to the Shiv Sena, first with Uddhav Thackeray, now with Shinde Sena. You've dumped Mr. Shinde after his use was exhausted. You've done the same thing to Akali Dal in Punjab. You've done the same thing to JDU in Bihar. In fact, in the next election, which is Bihar, I think goes to elections next year in 2025, political analysts are very clear that BJP will not give the Chief Minister's post to Mr. Nitish Kumar. In fact, they will ensure that Nitish Kumar gets less than the 40 odd that he has now, so as to make sure that there's only one claimant for the Chief Minister's post, which is that of the BJP. I mean, this is a concerted argument against you and your party that you eat up your allies. You call the Congress a parasite, they are calling you a predator.
So it's a very weak argument and specious one at that. And I tell you why. One, I'm not a clairvoyant or a soothsayer, so I don't know what's going to happen in Bihar. But you just see whether it's Akalis and us and the old Gathbandhan, through thick and thin, we stuck together. It was Akalis who broke free. Again, when it came to Shiv Sena and BJP, you know what happened. Despite getting more seats, despite winning on Modi ji's name, what did Uddhav Thackeray do? He was so desperate to be CM that he actually kicked the alliance away, and he didn't care for it. That only mattered to him. And even at that time, 5 years back, everybody knew. I mean, I have said this, and I said, people, he cannot live this down. And that's exactly what he did. So please stop accusing BJP of backstabbing or leading any such rifts. Because of both the times when it comes to Akalis or Shiv Sena of Uddhav Thackeray's, we know what's happened. These are factual details. If you have to know just basic history, political history of these alliances and of our country to know that this is what's happened. And as for Bihar, I mean, just look at even in 2015, it was always BJP did very well in fact, but we ensured that it is Nitish Kumar. Even in Karnataka, if you know, of course, we lost there. But Kumaraswamy was our face, and we were absolutely fine with it. So, in fact, one party which actually believes in coalition dharma and sticks to it through thick and through sick and sin.
No,
It is
let me give you the
and
the
there is a
Bihar
good track record
data.
to prove that.
Let me give you the Bihar data. In 2005, which is the first election that the JDU and the BJP came together, in fact, the first election that Nitish Kumar became chief minister, the JDU seats were 55, 14.5% vote share. BJP seats were 37, 10.97 vote share. In the last election, the 2020 election, the last election that both parties fought together, JDU seats were 43, BJP seats were 74, JDU vote share was 15%, BJP vote share was 20%. So there is, I mean, this is the data.
Yes.
And this is what people are saying.
Yes, and who's the chief minister? And who's the chief
15
minister?
years,
That's exactly what I'm saying.
No, but in
And who's
15
the chief
years, you
minister?
have reduced Mr.
There,
Nitish's
thank
party
you for proving a
from
point.
55 seats to 43 seats.
No,
and from,
but he's the chief minister.
And
No.
from
So there are
25%
two things.
vote
So
share
there
to
are two things.
15% vote share. This is data.
Conversely, I can say despite getting more seats, data. So quoting your data, Zaka, I can say conversely that despite having more seats, we respect our coalition partners so much that Ritish is still the CM. We can say that conversely. So it really doesn't matter. It is respect for one's alliance partner, which we have always, and this shows that. And if BJP manages to capture the imagination of more and more voters, if Modi ji's guarantee has made such a, has permeated the hearts of people, then you can't blame us for that. You can't blame us for doing well and for having people like us more and believe in us, for having credibility. Similarly,
Anish
despite that,
Gandhi,
despite the data,
Shazia
it just
is
goes on
saying
to show.
more and more people are believing the BJP, more and more people are reposing faith in the Prime Minister, in the Maha Yuti. Look at all the issues that you, the MVA, took up. You said farmer distress, majority of the farmer seats, the BJP and the Maha Yuti has won. You said Maratha quota, I just gave you the Marathwada figures, 40 out of 46, the NDA has won. Every issue, you said women and inflation, Ladki Behan has been the most successful pre-election scheme that has paid rich dividends for the Maha Yuti. Every issue, every cross-section that you tried to raise, the voters of Maharashtra have responded quite emphatically supporting the other side. So now you are falling back to the default criticism or the default allegation कि EVM में कुछ गड़बड़ है.
No, Zaka, as we've repeatedly said in the past, we take allegations of EVM tampering very seriously, and we will not make any substantial allegations without accurate proof. Right? So even in the EVM matter, we're in the process of compiling all of this evidence, and there are irregularities that the Election Commission should respond to. And I think it's only fair that we take it through its logical conclusion. As for whether or not we're going to continue talking about these issues, of course we are. These remain incredibly important issues, and our vote share reflects the fact that even though we might have lost these seats, there's still a lot of people who believe that these are the concerns that a state must address. Now, I'll just answer a very small point on alliance partners. Anyone who goes to the BJP faces one simple conundrum. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Nitish Kumar's example in Bihar shows that over time your vote share will decrease if you continue in partnership with the BJP. And unfortunately, the JJP's experience in Haryana shows that if you ditch the BJP last minute, then your association with the BJP itself means that you're reduced to 0 seats. So the alliance partners of the BJP who are finding themselves in a very lovely coalition right now are going to realize what the long-term impact of this coalition is in the months and years to come. So I think this is the experience so far, and we'll see what happens.
Mr. Waghmare, the problem is
just as small rebuttal.
Yeah, okay. Quickly, yeah.
Just a one-liner. On the contrary, you're saying damned if you do, damned if you don't. But on the contrary, if you go with Congress, you're damned, no matter what.
Oh, so yeah. So Matthew is just smiling. We won't get into that. But Mr. Waghmare, the problem is, Chetan Bhagat was there in the studios and Rohit was also in our studios when the election results came, and he made this firm point. This election result is a resounding message from the voters of Maharashtra. There is no place for two Senas. There's only one Sena, and right now you are the Sena because you have 57, they have 20. Right? Just like that, there is frankly no place for two Hindutva parties, whether it is in Maharashtra or in Haryana or anywhere else in the country. You can't be more Hindutva than BJP. So what then separates you from the BJP? It's the same philosophy, it's the same ideology. So with time, you will get swallowed by the BJP because there's no need for two Hindutva parties.
See, there is one thing you guys forgot, that we are in Maharashtra. Shiv Sena based on Marathi Manus. And that is our culture, that is our total aspita, that is our pride. So the Marathi things are with us. We are Maharashtrians. Plus, we have the
Devendra Fadnavis is not Marathi Manus.
No.
Chandrasekhar Bavanpale is not Marathi Manus.
No, Zaka. Our ideology of the party based on the Marathi Manus that you cannot forget. The BJP's ideology is not based on Marathi Manus. We started Shiv Sena with Marathi Manus. We included everybody, and we have Hindutva now. So it is a package. What BJP is giving, that is BJP's issue.
Okay.
But we are going with our package, and the people of Maharashtra believe on our leader Eknath Shinde. They gave us a mandate, and I can assure you that we will definitely grow further.
Okay.
And I just wanted to comment on Congress. 1 second,
Very
I just
quickly,
want to comment on Congress, because I was in Congress 30 years. Congress is going to be the same as the position of Congress in UP, in Maharashtra in coming years. There is no leaders. The Balasaheb Thorat-like leaders, they sold Congress in Maharashtra. So the Congress is going to be extinct.
Okay.
Same with Uvata.
Let me ask Rohit this final word. I have to conclude after this. Do you buy that argument that Shiv Sena is Marathi Manus plus Hindutva, BJP is only Hindutva, and therefore they will always be relevant in Maharashtra?
I think it is true that Shiv Sena started on Marathi Manus issue, but then Balasaheb Thackeray realized in the late 1980s, that is 87, 88, 1988, around that time, when Pramod Mahajan convinced him that there is no point in only focusing on Marathi Manus. You will be restricted to a very small voter base. So Balasaheb took this call and he decided to go with Hindutva, which was a thing given to him by BJP. Now there is what you say, Zaka, is very true. That even like I referred earlier in our previous discussion on Saturday, even a leader like Arun Jaitley used to tell us 10-15 years ago that there is no space for two Hindutva parties in Maharashtra. There can be only one Hindutva party, and the BJP should go for a partner which is from non-Hindutva space, which they have done in case of Ajit Pawar now. That has been BJP's ideology for a long time, BJP's strategy for a long time, to take a partner who comes from non-Hindutva space. So what you say has a point that eventually the BJP will be eyeing the space that Eknath Shinde is right now occupying if he is Hindutva space. And of course the Marathi Manus will take them ahead in places like Mumbai Municipal Corporation poll or Thane Municipal Corporation poll in a limited way. But the larger appeal of Hindutva can stay with only one large party, and small groups or alliance partners from Hindutva are not really a convenient thing for the BJP in the long run, which the top BJP leaders tell us off the record many times.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you could win one or two municipal corporations here and there, but you're not going to be a statewide relevant party if you're piggybacking on the same ideology, the same big tent, broad brush ideology that already a bigger party is representing. But Matthew, at least they represent an ideology, at least they stand for something. What do you stand for? What is the Congress party standing for?
Saka, it's good to be sarcastic, but at the same time, we have been, here in existence for the last 139 years, and we are not honeybees who just jumps from parties to parties just to seek honey on the other side. We stand by the ideology, irrespective of, what we are making an electoral success or not. I've been in the party from the age of 13 and I'm in the 40s right now. So, we will be with the party irrespective of...
He's asking you the same question that I asked you. What is today the Congress party's ideology?
Socialist, secular, democratic republic, it's in line with the constitution. We will. And we are standing for all the causes which you have been advocating. Just an electoral failure will not. Just to get a government, we will not join the party. We will stay for the party till our last breath. Because we believe in the constitution.
They believe in casteism.
Just to get a few contacts, we will not jump the party.
They
We will stay till the last breath. We will still. We will stay
See,
till the last
Matthew,
breath.
I said this when the result came as well. That Samvidhan khatre mein hai maybe was a resonant issue in the Lok Sabha election, because you peddled a narrative and some people bought into the narrative, nothing wrong with that. that look, if Modi gets 400, he will change the Samvidhan. Now, BJP can call it fake narrative, fake video, whatever it is, that is their prerogative. But fact of the matter is, there is data to show that some Dalits in Maharashtra, in Uttar Pradesh, in Haryana, a section of Dalits voted away from the BJP because of fear that Samvidhan badal denge. Now, the problem with the Congress is you stuck to that same narrative from 6 months ago, even during assembly elections, which has no, business of amending constitution is not with, once again, business of amending constitution is not with state legislatures, it's with the parliament. And in any case, Mr. Modi at 240 cannot change the constitution. So that issue became hollow. The difference between the Congress and the BJP is the BJP realized quickly after the Lok Sabha election that look, Dalits have gone away, let's go back to them, address their concerns, which they did in Haryana and in Maharashtra. The problem with the Congress is you thought what won you, or not won you, but what did well for you in 6 months ago in the Lok Sabha election, the same set of issues will work 6 months later in the Vidhan Sabha election. It doesn't work like that. So, which is why I go back to the original question that I asked you. Will you go back to the drawing board and take a long, hard look at these issues like caste census and, changing 50% cap on reservation? Maybe it's not having resonance. Maybe people are not buying it.
Definitely, Sakar, two things I would like to answer here. One is, we definitely have a relook into the way in which, we are messaging it. Second is, there are core issues, in terms of, the caste census. We fundamentally believe in it because there is an inequality there, which is happening right now. So how we message that, how we will win the perception is something which we need to kind of, address to. Okay. Now, with respect to the farmers issue, 9,000 farmers died, Saka, in the state of Maharashtra. So, it is not a light issue. Whether we won the vote or not, we need to address that issue.
I can show it on the magic wall, the farmer distress constituencies again. I think about 35 or 40 constituencies. Again, a large chunk of that went with the NDA. I'm not saying that that issue is not an important one. I'm not trying to diminish the importance of that issue, but certainly it was not an electorally relevant issue. But anyway, let's move on. I got to move on. Thank you very much to all our guests. We are still awaiting the meeting between Mr. Shah, Mr. Fadnavis, Mr. Shinde, and of course Mr. Pawar. That is expected to happen sometime tonight, and then all three of them will go back to Mumbai. Of course, the BJP has to convene its legislature party meeting. There has to be an NDA legislature party meeting, and ultimately Mr. Fadnavis or whoever it is that the BJP has put forth, most likely Mr. Fadnavis, will have to be chosen as the leader of the legislature party, and then, of course, the formal announcement of him being the chief minister. Let's now move on to the second part, which is the NDA's thumping victory in Maharashtra, what we saw earlier in Haryana. There is now a renewed chorus being made against electronic voting machines or EVMs. The opposition bloc, the India Alliance, has protested against EVMs in the past as well, including after the surprise defeat for the Congress in the Haryana Assembly elections. The row over EVMs sort of rears its head every time after a major election where the opposition loses, and then immediately upon losing, they accuse the BJP of engineering victories by hacking into these machines. Now, the BJP has been steadily refuting these claims. It points to the wins of opposition parties. Even in this election cycle, the opposition won in Jharkhand. Substantial win. A two-thirds win, I think, for the JMM and the Congress alliance. Is there any credence at all to the opposition's allegation? Is it time now to once and for all bury this EVM bogey? Is there any verifiable evidence on the back of which the opposition is making these claims? And we have analyzed the data, whether it is the votes polled, votes counted, etc. Other than opposition finding a ruse or an excuse or a hunch or a gut feel, as they say, there is no hard data to prove that the EVMs were the reason why the opposition lost. The Congress won Karnataka, the Congress won Telangana, the Congress won Himachal Pradesh, all of it in the last few years. The India bloc has won the elections in Jharkhand. Hemant Soren, in fact, took oath just today as the chief minister. So there is no hard evidence, hard data to show that EVMs are hacked only when the Congress or the opposition loses elections. Now, over the last 1 week, and you heard this from no less than the highest leader of the Congress party, the Congress president, Mr. Kharge, saying we don't want to go back to EVMs. BJP can keep its EVMs. We want to go back to ballot papers. He went so far as to make a case by saying that just like there was Bharat Jodo, there should be Ballot Jodo. He was speaking at the Samvidhan Rakshak Abhiyan of the Congress party, and he called for a campaign on the scale of Bharat Jodo to be led by Rahul Gandhi, asking for a return to the ballot paper. There is a serious thinking in some sections in the Congress party that for the upcoming Delhi Assembly election, the Congress will not take part in the election if it is going to be EVM based. We hope it doesn't come down to that, but this is a thinking, a serious thinking within a section of the party. A few months ago, after the 2024 general election result, Rahul Gandhi had said that EVMs in India are a black box which nobody is allowed to scrutinize. He said that there are serious concerns being raised about the transparency of India's electoral process. He called for complete transparency or even abolishing EVMs. Manish Tiwari of the Congress has also made a similar claim. He said that the Election Commission of India should consider paper ballots because democracy is too precious to be left to technology. EVMs are just machines that can be rigged or hacked. Similar claims have been made by many other opposition leaders after the India bloc suffered defeats in elections, whether it's in the Lok Sabha or whether it is in state assembly elections. But that brings us down to the brass tacks. Is there merit? Is there hard data to any of these objections, or are they simply selective, a ruse or an excuse after a defeat? Now, in December of 1988, BJP was not in power. Mr. Rajiv Gandhi was the Prime Minister of the country at that time. At that time, in December of 1988, the Parliament of India amended the law, the Representation of People Act. It added Section 61A to the RPA, granting permission to the Election Commission of India to use electronic voting machines. Like I said, the BJP was not in power, Mr. Modi was not in power, Rajiv Gandhi was the Prime Minister of India when this amendment was made. This amendment came into effect on the 15th of March 1989. The first ever general election in this country, Lok Sabha election in this country, where EVMs were used entirely, was in 2004. Every one of the 543 seats of the Lok Sabha were voted with an EVM and not with a ballot paper. Guess who won? The Congress-led UPA won the 2004 election. Now, according to a document released by the Election Commission in 2018, from about 2,000 EVMs which have been used for voting in a total of 113 assembly elections and 5 general elections, including the recently concluded 2024 one. So you've had over 100 state elections and 5 general elections, and the EVM, no one has been able to prove, either to the Election Commission or to the Supreme Court, that look, this has been hacked or there is a problem, there's a mismatch in the data. 100 assembly elections, 5 Lok Sabha elections. The Supreme Court, just 2 days ago, rejected a PIL, a public interest litigation, brought forth by a gentleman from Andhra Pradesh seeking the reintroduction of physical paper ballots for elections in India. Justice Vikram Nath, who was presiding over the 2-judge bench, dismissed the PIL. He came down heavily on such frivolous petitions using election results as per convenience. The judge said, and I quote, what happens is, when you win the election, then EVMs are not tampered with. When you lose the elections, then EVMs are tampered with. He gave the specific example. When Chandrababu Naidu lost in 2018, he said the EVMs can be tampered. Now this time, Jagan Mohan Reddy has lost, and he also says EVMs can be tampered with. So it's a loser's argument, not a victor's argument. Let's try and put this speculation to rest once and for all by speaking to somebody who has seen this from very, very close quarters. Mr. S.Y. Quraishi is the former Chief Election Commissioner of India. Thank you very much, sir, for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. Is there any merit to the opposition's arguments that the EVMs are flawed, the EVMs are hackable and have been hacked, and one should return back to the ballot papers? The Congress party president is making a case for a ballot Jodo Yatra, for a return to paper ballots instead of using EVMs. Is there any credence to these allegations?
Well, this argument has been on for ever since I can remember, ever since the EVMs were introduced. And of course, after every election, they become noisier and louder. But I think after the judgment of the Supreme Court just a day earlier, which has completely foreclosed any option to go back, and this is going back to ballot paper is certainly not an option. And they've gone to the extent of calling the demand hypocritical. So personally, I've been defending the EVMs till the end, till last night. And I think the debate should have shifted to the other thing, the VVPAT, and which has been going on. How many slips from how many machines should be counted? That is the debate which has yet not been claimed. And now in the latest election, and actually since 2019, the figures not tallying, that has been the issue, and that needs to be answered. and only Election Commission can answer, and silence is not their option.
Let me ask you about this VVPAT issue. Now, the opposition is saying that every VVPAT needs to be verified and the VVPAT needs to be made to match with the EVM. Right now, I think it's about 5 VVPATs per booth, if I'm not mistaken. Is it possible, is it feasible to match every single VVPAT to the EVM?
Yeah, as you know, election is the foundation of Indian democracy, and the trust in the Election Commission and in the electoral system is absolute imperative. Therefore, anything which is creating doubts about it has to be resolved. Dilly-dallying, shilly-shallying is not available to us. Now, VVPATs were introduced, and then Supreme Court said that 5 machines from every Vidhan Sabha constituency, which means out of 200 to 300, 5 will be counted randomly. I am now suggesting 2 improvements. One, that these 5, we stuck to 5, but these 5 should not be picked up randomly, but we should allow the top 2 runners-up to pinpoint any machine on which they have suspicion. And I'll give you an analogy with which the entire country is familiar. In cricket, DRS system, your 2 appeals are allowed. Only 2. If it was only 5% of the LBWs will go upstairs for a decision, it will lead you nowhere. Only when you are doubtful that the decision is suspect, then you send it up. Similarly, only the doubtful machine should be counted, and which is very easy. It's a 30-second decision for the Election Commission. They will say that, okay, we will count these 5 on the basis of the complaint received from the top 2 runners-up. Not somebody who has got only 20 votes. I mean, they don't count. But the guys who are going to get affected by the result are the number 1 and number 2 runners-up. Give them 2 machines each. So only 4 machines instead of 5. But that will at least be acceptable. Alternatively, your original suggestion, even if for the purpose of credibility of the machine in the eyes of the nation, we have to count 100% for once. All it will take is 12 hours, 14 hours, 24 hours. After all, the nation waits for 2 months, 3 months for the results from the first day. What is the big deal? It should be done, and it should have been cleaned in the Supreme Court because it had gone there earlier. They did not. I don't know what the Supreme Court keeps thinking or doing. And why should the Election Commission stay silent on it and not clinch it to the satisfaction of everybody?
So one of the things that the opposition also constantly cite, they've done this in Maharashtra and in the previous elections as well, that the number of votes polled is not tallying with the number of votes counted. What explains that?
Not at all, because this data which we are all talking about is real-time data. When you go to the polling station and I go to the polling station, there is a form 17A which is like marking attendance. You came at 8 o'clock, your name is written. I go at 5 past 8, my name is written. And you keep on writing. And this is real-time data. And every 2 hours, Election Commission puts it on the website to let people know that in this booth, so many votes have been cast till this time. Every 2 hours they update these figures. Now suppose somebody goes there to the polling station at 3 o'clock. What is how many votes have been cast since morning? So they don't have to do any calculation. They just look at the last line. Okay, the last man is 320. So that is the thing which is now real-time data. Now 17C at the end of the day is nothing but a total of all the happenings of the day and the totals. So, and presiding officer cannot go home without completing that form 17C, which has all the data of the votes cast, even if it was 10 p.m. when the last vote was cast, and getting the signatures of the polling agents present and giving them the copy. The real data, real-time data is actually being given to the polling agent, and discrepancy the next day or 3 days later is beyond my understanding.
Okay, we'll leave it at that, Dr. Quraishi. Thank you very much for joining us. Let's see how this story plays out. Like, I'm very clear in my mind. I think EVM is just a bahana. The opposition needs to come up with better issues that capture the mind of the Indian voter. Quick break. On the other side, the conflict between Russia and Ukraine is now escalated into a missile brinkmanship, almost reminding one of the Cold War. What's going on there? We'll explain on the other side.
Does that speech not call for the genocide of Jews and the elimination of Israel? You testify that you understand that is the definition of intifada.
Thank you, everybody, for your patience, for being here tonight. House Republicans just concluded a very productive and respectful conference meeting. Members from all across the conference shared their support for this important bill, and they shared their support for Speaker McCarthy's strong and effective leadership. This is a win for the American people and future generations. Last November, the American people sent a message strongly that they did not support the failed policies and reckless spending of single-party Democrat rule. The country entrusted House Republicans with our vision of a commitment to America to deliver results and rein in out-of-control spending, causing crippling inflation. The Fiscal Responsibility Act is a historic step to restoring fiscal sanity and holding Washington accountable.
A battle where we've been focused on ideals. We should reverse the state's ban on the safe extraction of natural gas and approve new pipeline applications.
Does that speech not call for the genocide of Jews and the elimination of Israel?
Russian President Vladimir Putin has said that Russia had test-fired an intermediate-range missile last week from its arsenal designed to deliver nuclear weapons. But the critical fact about the testing of this IRBM was that it was not carrying nuclear warheads at the time that it exploded in the eastern Ukrainian city of Dnipro. The Russian strike did cause little damage, but it capped a dizzying week of tit-for-tat moves in the war in Ukraine. The focus of this war, which is going to close in on 3 years, has now shifted from ground assaults on the battlefield to a Cold War-style missile brinkmanship. In the last few days, Ukraine has fired longer-range missiles provided by America and Britain into military targets deep inside Russia. And Putin has made it clear that the Russian missile test was in response to those strikes as a sort of warning to the West to reconsider military aid for Kyiv. On Crux Decode, what is behind the military and missile brinkmanship by both Russia and Ukraine? Will it actually change anything on the ground? Or is the aim of both sides to try and increase their bargaining leverage ahead of Donald Trump taking office in January? The long-range missile duels have been going on jointly along with the fighting on the front lines. But here's the thing. these missile launches and counter launches are having little discernible influence on the ground. Now, what this suggests is that the idea behind using these missiles, both for Ukraine and for Russia, serves a political purpose and not necessarily a military one. Ukraine is hoping for military gains that will provide leverage in any ceasefire negotiations. Moscow is also elevating the threat of nuclear war before President-elect Donald Trump is inaugurated in January. Trump, of course, has expressed skepticism about continuing American military support for Ukraine. He says he will end the war in 24 hours and he intends to broker a peace agreement to bring the war to an end. In fact, his vice president-elect, J.D. Vance, has said openly during the campaign that America should stop funding Ukraine. But there's also another catch, and that is to do with the limited availability of these high-end long-range rockets. Neither the US-provided missiles like the ATACMS or the British-made Storm Shadows are available in sufficient numbers for Ukraine to fire at Russia. Similarly, the experimental missile that Russia sent back is also not available in sufficient quantity to have a significant military effect. But Ukraine is still at a significant disadvantage on the battlefield. It is now being outmanned by forces of Russia, which are slowly inching up territory day after day, week after week, and the Ukrainian forces are slowly but surely retreating under these intense Russian assaults. Even with the new permission to strike deeper into Russian territory, Ukraine is rapidly approaching a point where if it does not address the manpower shortage issue, then it will struggle to defend the entire length of the Eastern Front. This was the assessment that was concluded by the Royal United Services Institute, which is an analytical group affiliated with the British military and which studied Ukraine's prospects. Without more soldiers, the Institute study said that the collapse in fighting positions will only accelerate. In response to the Russian missile test, speaking last weekend, Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky said that Putin had timed last week's strike ahead of the coming US presidential inauguration. Russia's goal, he said, is to expel Ukraine from a pocket of territory that it holds of Russia before Trump takes office. The new missiles were part of this Russian plan. In Ukraine, the fear is that Russia will seek to escalate in anticipation of talks, pursuing a strategy of placing as many threats as possible on the table before negotiating to take them away. Putin's actions are aimed not at today or tomorrow, but they are aimed at January 20th when Trump becomes president. Hence, Putin's lowering of the nuclear threshold in response to the US and UK providing Ukraine with long-range rockets. Throughout the last few months, North Korean soldiers have begun arriving in Russia, and the US and Ukrainian officials say there are about 10,000 of these North Korean troops who have joined or intend to join Russian forces in the southern region of Kursk. Ukraine had seized parts of Kursk back in August in the hope that Kursk can be used as a bargaining tool as and when negotiations begin. Russia too has been facing a personnel shortage, which it has been trying to make up with North Korean troops and increasingly now Yemeni soldiers. The aim is to expel Ukraine from the territory that it seized. Western countries have been saying that bringing in combat troops from a third country represents an escalation by Moscow. They have cited that as justification for allowing Ukraine to use a type of American ballistic missile called the ATACMS, which are then used to fire deep into Russian territory. But the agreement is limited to that area in which North Korean troops have been deployed. The UK too quickly followed suit with permissions to fire its Storm Shadow cruise missiles into Russia. Russia responded by formalizing a new nuclear doctrine which lowered the threshold for the use of nuclear weapons, and then of course it responded with the missile test of the intermediate range ballistic missile. The Pentagon described that missile as based on a decade-old Russian design called the RS-26 or the Rubezh. But Putin said it was a new experimental design called Oreshnik. Late last week, Ukraine's military intelligence agency, the HUR, offered details of the weapon that Russia tested. It flew in about 11 times the speed of sound, and before impact, it released 6 warheads, which broke into 36 different smaller ammunitions. Its flight from the Astrakhan region of Russia into Dnipro was about 15 minutes. The weapon also had one ability which is associated primarily with nuclear-armed missiles, which is the ability to release multiple smaller warheads, the effect which lit up the early morning sky in Dnipro. The American missiles which Ukraine was allowed to use to launch into Russia will have limited impact. They have so far at least forced Russia to move some of their fighter planes from airfields close to the border. That could help stymie Russia's offensive into the Kursk. But Ukraine has too few ATACMS to significantly harm Russia's military logistics close to the border. And Ukraine has no choice but to continue the ground fighting despite the latest threat of nuclear war implied by Russian missile launch. Ukraine will not be able to alter how it has been fighting this war, at least for the foreseeable future.
Viewers, let's do some plain speaking tonight. Almost every major temple of spiritual significance to Hindus in North India has been built over by a masjid or torn asunder by invaders. This has been going on for centuries. In these once Hindu sacred spaces, the majority community's devotees aren't allowed to pray, or even if they are allowed, it is often under a makeshift tent, far removed from the masjid that stands atop the site that they hold absolutely sacred. These desecrations are a grim reminder of the attempt to eviscerate Hinduism by wave upon wave of Islamic settler colonialism. Hindus aggrieved at having been denied access are today moving court. But they are not seeking to reclaim these spaces, but only asking the court to merely establish that the masjids were temples. For so long, viewers, we are told that these masjids have stood since time immemorial, that they were there first and that there was nothing else under them. The truth is important because for decades Hindus have been told to forget about their revered spaces, some of which are intrinsic to the practice of their faith. Ayodhya was one such place, viewers. An obstacle after obstacle, hurdle after hurdle was created so that the Hindus could not pray at the site that Lord Ram was born. Viewers, the Hindu community has moved court. It has not gone to the court of public opinion. It is not descended upon the streets like in other fractious religious theocracies. So it came, viewers, as no surprise when a Hindu petitioner called upon a local court to direct the ASI and other instruments of the state to conduct a survey of the Ajmer Dargah to determine whether there was a Hindu Shiv temple under it. The court admitted the petition and called upon the ASI and the Union Ministry of Minority Affairs to submit a response. It didn't take long for the opposition to lash out at the courts and blame them for fanning the fire of communal discord. The All India Muslim Personal Law Board, the AIMIM of Mr. Owaisi, the Congress, the Samajwadi Party were first off the block. The All India Muslim Personal Law Board urged Chief Justice of India Sanjeev Khanna to take suo motu action and direct the lower judiciary to refrain from opening doors to more disputes. The Muslim body added that it is the responsibility of both central and state governments to strictly enforce this law passed by Parliament. And they were, of course, referring to the Places of Worship Act 1991. And they said that the failure to do so could lead to an explosive situation across the country, almost hinting, viewers, at Sambal-like riots. The AIMIM chief Asaduddin Owaisi accused the BJP and RSS of spreading hatred over mosques via their Hindutva agenda. He accused them of violating the constitution. Congress party's Manikam Tagore, echoing Owaisi, accused the RSS of spreading hate in the country and targeting another mosque. Akhilesh Yadav's relative and MP Ram Gopal Yadav said the judge sitting in lower courts want to put the country on fire. He said the latest controversy reflects a very hateful and shallow mindset on part of the judiciary. Viewers, let's confine ourselves to the Ajmer Sharif Rao for today. Was this dargah built on a Shiv temple? What do the historical records tell us? Now viewers, in my hands, I have the extracts, the excerpts of various books that have been written on this subject, on the antecedents of this dargah. Vishnu Gupta, the plaintiff in the case in the court, cited a 1910 book by Harbilas Sarda, which was published in 1911. The Hindu side claims Sarda wrote about the presence of a Hindu temple beneath the dargah. The book also mentions that inside the cellar is the image of Mahadev in a temple. He adds, sandal used to be placed every day by a Brahmin family in the temple and is maintained by the dargah as Ghariali or the bell striker. Harbilas Sarda's book also notes about spotting Hindu elements on the north side of the Buland Darwaza. The two sides are also of course contesting, but a large number of British surveyors have also pointed to what they said was authentic records to suggest that there was a Mahadev temple. And some of these individuals who are being referred to are people who were part of the East India Company, viewers, the British East India Company. Many people have therefore gone over this historical record. The two sides are convinced of their respective arguments. The Hindu side cites evidence, claims that Ajmer Sharif Dargah is indeed a Shiva temple. The Masjid side in defense claims that they have no proof to show that there was a temple there. And in fact, they claim records that go back to the 1200s. Both sides, obviously, viewers, are locked in this contest. The Masjid side cites the 1950 Hassan Committee report, which gave them a clean chit and a clear title. The Hindu side in their petition have demanded a right to worship. The Masjid side calls Durga a symbol of communal harmony. So all these claims, counter-claims are flying thick and fast. The attack on the courts is, of course, viewers, unfortunate. The Supreme Court no less has ruled that the Places of Worship Act 1991 doesn't bar any court mandated move to determine the character or identity of a place of worship. The bar is only on changing the character of a place of worship. So if it was a Hindu place of worship, it can't become a Muslim one, and vice versa after 15th of August 1947. But there is no bar on determining whether that place was Hindu or Muslim. Given this, local courts are only doing what's written in law by ordering surveys to determine the primordial identity of these places of worship. And the hard facts are there. May 2022, CJI Chandrachud said, although changing the nature of the religious place is barred under the 1991 law, the court ascertainment of a religious character of a place as a processual instrument may not necessarily fall foul of the provisions of section 3(4) of the Act, unquote. There's another hard fact, and we will always bring you the hard facts so there's clarity, so that there is no confusion and you can separate the wheat from the chaff, the lies and the fiction from the fact. Hard fact 2, in Kashi and Mathura civil suit filed by the petitioners, they are essentially seeking the court not to determine the title or character of the property in question, whether it's a Hindu property or a Muslim property. They don't want it back. Nonetheless, many are asking what's the point of determining the character of a place of worship when the law doesn't allow any move to change its character. This is of course a moot point. What will you do by finding out that okay, this masjid was actually built upon a temple? Some people would then want to claim it back, which is of course barred by the Place of Worship Act 1991. Now, a section of the Hindu community is campaigning for the return of all 30,000 or so disputed places of worship. Others, like RSS chief, have cautioned against any move. He has said, and in his words, don't escalate the fight. Why escalate the fight? Why look for a shivling in every masjid? On November 9th, we said that for historical reasons, we got involved in the Ram Janambhoomi campaign and we completed it. Now we don't want to lead any movement, unquote. Viewers, in the Sambhal issue now, we are being told that the Shahi Masjid Committee will be knocking the doors of the top court tomorrow. A date has been given and a two-judge bench of the Supreme Court headed by the Chief Justice, Sanjeev Khanna himself, will hear